Hey everybody there on YouTube, this is JD Olson and I'm here with my man Ed Stahl. We're here at his gym, Metro Line of Martial Arts. But what I want to do today is I want to do an interview with him. If you haven't already seen a couple of his videos, you don't know Ed does have a handicap. He has messed up hands. And so what I wanted to do an interview on was his martial arts training fighting his handicap. Because, you know, there are all kinds of people that find any excuse or every excuse why they can't do whatever. Like, oh, I can't train because I hurt my hip, or I twist my ankle, or I done this or done that. And Ed has managed to make it all the way to full instructor level in Jeet Kune Do. He is working on his instructor level in Filipino martial arts, which is stick and knife fighting, which has got to be difficult. He is a purple belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which again, we're gripping collars and gripping stuff. And he is wicked at a loop choke, so I know that personally. So I kind of wanted to sit down and talk with him, as he is kind of a living embodiment of, hey, someone who isn't going to let their handicap hold them down, they're going to keep on going. Plus, he's actually, I think, in my opinion, an accomplished artist, because I've gotten some of his drawings, and some of them are really cool. And so, how you doing, Ed?
I'm doing well.
How long have you been doing martial arts?
I started training unofficially in like 2006.
2006, okay.
I was in the back of an Office Depot. One of my friends was in the back doing some type of weird stuff through a box with a box cutter, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He said it was Kali, and I was like, "I don't know what that is." And he's like, "Well, I also do Bruce Lee's martial art." I didn't know who Bruce Lee was really. Like I was.
We can't be friends.
I know it's offensive, but like I knew who he was, but I'd never watched any of his movies. But I watched a bunch of Jackie Chan and Jet Li. So he's like, "Well, first of all, like he said the same thing. We can't be friends until you watch Bruce Lee movies." So I watched. He let me borrow his DVD set of all of them, and I watched them all super fast. And then I was like, "All right, I'm in.
Yeah.
This guy seems cool." And YouTube was in its baby infancy, so there was some videos up there to like kind of watch, and like stuff online to be like, "Oh, who was this guy?" And so, yeah, I kind of just started from there.
So, what would you say has been the biggest hurdle you had to overcome based on your hands?
So there's two main martial arts that I hated because of my limitations. So one of them is Kali, obviously, and the second one is Jiu-Jitsu, for multiple reasons. So real quick backstory, I was electrically shocked when I was 6. And as a result, I lost several fingers, and I have kind of a big dent in the arm. I can send you the X-ray photo. It's kind of gnarly if you're into that. But so I just, structure-wise, my hands are not the best. I always joke that I don't have hands. I have hands. I'm just missing fingers. But one of my moniker is no hands, no enemies, because I try to not have an enemy or a limitation because of my hands. But that setting aside, Kali is weapons that you have to hold in your hand. Most people are right-handed, and my right hand is my most limited hand. So doing any type of seminar, this was before I had my padded sticks, it was just a wooden stick, I would feel every hit in my bones, just the way my hand's structured. So I would only be able to do stick Kali with my right hand for about 15 minutes.
Yeah. And
then the skin would be tore up. It would just be not a fun thing. And Guru Ron, to his credit, we tried to find every which way to make it work. We took one of those old cold steel, like they looked like rattan, but
yeah, the plastic ones.
Yeah,
they're heavy as can be.
God, they're super heavy, and that was the big problem. But like he drilled a hole in it, and we would act nylon so that like the disarm, it would just like if it fell out. The problem was I just couldn't hold it. I didn't have enough structure. And I remember one time I was drilling with Ron, and he said, "Man, you are death gripping that thing, the stick," because he would feel it, and I was like, "I have to. Like I have no other choice but to hold on to this with maximum strength." Because if you don't,
you're only doing 15 minutes because your arms are gassing out.
Yeah, exactly. Hands would gas out in the skin, and so like it just couldn't build up that time of retention. But I could do it left hand for a long time. And knife I could handle, an empty hand I love. With Kali, like Panatukan, but in the knife I really liked because it wasn't hit. So eventually, we figured out like through like tennis wrap with the over grip, that I could actually hang onto the stick, not with a death grip. But in 2015. Sifu Ron gave me one of the Lameko hand covers that I call it a beer koozie because it looks like a beer koozie.
Here comes one now.
So,
yeah, that's all we need.
That's it, not the stick. It's terrifying. But yeah, gave me one of these. This one I've used it, like the logo is all worn off and everything. But basically, what I would do is I'd put my hand in it, like, and it's that the stick would go in here, and it could actually. The problem is the motion this way. When the stick would get hit in this way, I'd have nothing but my bone here to kind of take it.
Your nubbin.
My nub, yeah, the nub just to absorb the pain. So finally, this was able to absorb it so I could relax the hand and actually train. Next problem was getting the skin up to par. That took a while. But, so 2015 is when, in my opinion, I really started college.
Okay.
That was super hard. Jiu-Jitsu I just avoided because it made me really self-conscious of my hands. Everyone immediately, and it still does to a degree, I just get over it now. Every time you get a grip, I immediately know that I'm at a disadvantage. Because if you grab the gi on my right side, it's pretty much yours. And I just have to deal with that. So I've been working a lot with what I call indirect grip. Is like, my grip is your grip. You held on to me, I'm just going to use that.
Use that, got it.
And it's been okay. I'm still in the process of figuring it out for myself. But my left hand has it's got a good gripper on it. So I kind of, since it's left-handed too, it's atypical. Most people will sit here and use their right hand to do stuff, whereas I'm sitting here and I do my left hand, which I think is why I've had success with the loop choke, is because it's the atypical
Yeah,
side.
it makes sense.
Anywho, so I just avoided it just because it would make me immediately aware, like, I suck at this because I can't hold on to anything. And, you know, I know it's, and it's not to say that I haven't heard of Jean-Jacques Machado. He's been a hero of mine for a long time. I finally got to meet him with you.
I was actually going to ask that question next.
Yeah,
So.
I'll let you go into that. But I watched a video on him, like his little mini documentary, and I was just like, wow. But I didn't take it to heart. I just never did. I was just like, he's just better than me.
So as you alluded to, 2019, we got to go to California and we got to train with Jean-Jacques Machado, and you got to meet him.
Yes.
And how was that? Because he has, of course, the hand issue as well.
Yeah, so they always say never meet your heroes. They're wrong. He's been like my jiu-jitsu hero for the longest time. And I know we're Carlos affiliates, and I love Master Carlos, but like Jean-Jacques was my idol. And I watched his videos and I watched the matches, and all of his stuff was like that he did really successful was no-gi stuff, like in competition.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, my no-gi game ain't bad because I can actually break grips and I don't have to worry so bad on my grip. Not now, I haven't done it in a while, so I'm probably really bad at it now. I'm gonna say that and get smashed. But meeting him was awesome. He didn't realize it at first, which is I think pretty normal if you don't know that I have an issue. It's kind of hidden until you are like, oh. And
he's like, my brother.
Yeah, he's like, my brother. And he was super excited and immediate bond. And it's actually with every single Machado brother that I have met, and I've met 4 of the 5, they all had the exact same reaction. With like, yeah, they're like, oh, you're like my brother. With the Brazilian accent, like Master Carlos was. We all met Higan Machado in 2015.
Yeah, at the Mars thing.
Yeah, and you know, it was kind of just like a meet and greet type thing, so he didn't really say a whole lot. But when he met me, man, I took this to heart because he's like, oh, you're like my brother. And he didn't say a whole lot to me, but it was that. And I met him again, and we had more conversation than I've met John Machado, and he had the same.
So you just haven't met Roger yet?
I haven't met Roger yet.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've met John, I've met Jean-Jacques, and I've met Carlos, obviously.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it is cool. But he, you know, and luckily at the what was it, train with the, I get the names mixed up. Is that train with the Legends camp?
Yeah, we went to Legends camp.
Legends
That's how
camp.
you met him.
Yeah, and that's how I met him. And so if you're unfamiliar with that camp, it's at the Inosanto Academy in LA. And
awesome.
It's great. The first 4 hours of it are Kali and Jeet with Guru Dan. And then the next hour and a half, 2 hours is with Jean-Jacques, and then after that it's 2 hours with Sifu Fong, and then 2 hours with Arjun Chai at the end. So it's a 12-hour day with like I think a 1 hour break in the middle.
You get hour lunch, and then you get 2 half-hour breaks in between the other blocks.
Other blocks.
So that's how you get your full 12 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we made the journey to do it, and I'm so happy I did to meet him because at the end he did a Q&A, and I was like, I have to ask because we have the same issue, and like, how do you deal with grip in the gi? And the long and the short of it was, and I don't want to give away too much of his secrets that you can watch on to figure out, because he's very blatant about it, how he does it, is he just ignores the grip. He'll just give you all the window in the world to latch in to get the overhook, or he'll just swim underhooks. He'll just hide the hand and swim. And it's how I've had to adapt my right-handed game, is I'm like, with the indirect grip, it's like, all right, you can grab me, and then I will swim my own grip. So yeah.
So what would you say to somebody else, like a new person coming in that has some form of, hand problem or a foot problem or whatever? What would you tell them
It'll depend on the person, and it depends on the age. And I know that's kind of a cop-out response.
Yeah, give me that.
Yeah, I know. Like, it depends. No, so it's tricky, right? Because I have a very clear limitation on things, but I don't let it stop me because there's no reason to. But everyone's journey is different. So I have to say, if you think it's a limitation, it's not going to limit you as far as you think. There's a couple, like you have Nick Newell, who was in, I believe, Bellator. He has one hand, and he is choking people out in MMA. And then you have, I just found him, I'm going to mess his name up, and I'll have him put it in the comments because I'll send it to him. It's like Lee, something like that. And he's a striking guy, and he's doing full-on kickboxing with one hand. And he wears a glove on, like it stops here, and he puts the glove on here, and he's hitting people with that. And he's like, bam! And he hit like a liver shot. Like, I'm just like, and he holds mitts. He does all of it. It's super inspiring. I get inspired by that stuff just as much as like people like say that about me. And I try to be empathetic to people's problems. And I think that's important as a person, not just a martial artist, to be empathetic towards people's problems. But I try to show, as opposed to tell, that the limitation isn't quite as severe as you think it is. Let's say you have a bad hip. I get it. Like, I don't have a bad hip, but I have students that have bad hips. So it's like, you just don't do that side. If you have butterfly hook and you don't have a good hip flexor, then you use your other side. If you have two bad hip flexors, you don't do it. You do a different type of guard or you modify it. And I know that like Jiu-Jitsu is one of those things where I think anybody can do it. I've had students compete against a paraplegic, so he's just his bottom legs just didn't work. And you know, I've seen one-arm Jiu-Jitsu people. And I just tell them that they're not as limited as they think. You're not as limited as you think. One thing that you can do is you can still get on the mats, whether it's through collies. Like let's say you have hands, but you're in a wheelchair. You can do collie. One of our mutual Mars brothers, Darren, has a student who is, he has cerebral palsy. So a lot of his movement pattern is really rough just because he's in a wheelchair.
Right.
But man, he tries. I think he's a blue belt Jiu-Jitsu too.
Nice.
So it's one of those things that you can find people that have your similar problems and you can see how they get around it. Now that it does mean that you might need to move the goalposts a little bit, and that's always fine. Like you might not be a UFC champion, but you could still have fun and learn stuff.
So would you say, because you said your limitation is not as bad as you think, or do you think it's more in your own head? It's not actually the limitations that you think you have are holding you back more than your actual limitation is.
Correct.
Okay.
I would say that because.
Because you said, you know, I hated jiu-jitsu because of this thing, but now you're a purple belt in jiu-jitsu because you stopped being worried about that thing.
Yeah, and I just did it, right? And a lot of the problems that I have now have nothing to do with my hands. It's like, man, my cardio sucks, or, you know, I'm too heavy, so my weight class is too heavy, so I'm just getting smashed by bigger guys. Like, you know, there's different problems that you have, and that are the actual problems that everyone has, as opposed to be like, I can't hold with my right hand. It's not true. Like, if you don't have a right hand, you can't hold it because it's not there. But you can get around it, and you learn. And that it also drives me crazy to hear it because people are stopping to reach. They can't reach their full potential because they're stopping before they even give themselves the chance. And it more hurts me on that side than it does, I think, even hurts them to realize that they're stopping themselves.
So if you had, if there was somebody watching this that is in the same situation as you, what would you tell them to start with? Like, would you say boxing because the gloves are the easiest? Like, you know, a kickboxing, a boxing, Muay Thai, something like that? Yeah,
so if you have a hand issue, I would definitely say some type of striking where you can protect the limb. And Muay Thai is always fun, but if you don't have like that elbow joint, it might be hard. So definitely maybe just traditional boxing. And you know, you're gonna figure it out. Like, you're gonna know real quick, like, oh, I can't block like everyone else does. And like for me, another limitation that I have because of this issue is, I'm gonna borrow some space here, is range of motion. I can't fully straighten my left hand, and I can't fully bring it in. This is the hard stop. So it's only got like, I don't know,
30 degrees.
30 degrees of movement, which is really limited. and it's my full grippered hand. So it's like, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But you know, it's one of those things where this is my strong hand to do stuff with. It's my strong hand. It's my good hand to do stuff with, but I still have something bothering me, and it's not because it's from injury or anything. I actually just because of the, again, I'll send him the picture of the X-ray. He'll put it in here to where you can see like it's just there's not a whole lot of weight where it can move. So. For me, I like kickboxing a lot more than I like jiu-jitsu.
And you competed kickboxing.
And I've competed full contact, and I want to compete again, but I'm getting older, so it probably won't happen. But
your limitation is only held back by yourself.
And I'm probably holding myself back there because I like brain cells. But you know, when it's a young man's sport too. But anywho, like kickboxing is so much like I have good power with my hand. I have good stuff that I can do with it. So that's why I think it's a good art to start out with. Jiu-Jitsu, even though they say it's for everybody, sometimes in the beginning it's not. Like it can be really hard. And I think if like maybe if you're missing an arm or something like that, you really want to do Jiu-Jitsu, go for it. Or if you want to like have something to have more success, maybe kickboxing. Or if you have your right hand but don't have your left hand or something like that, you can do Kali because most stuff is right-handed.
So, last question, how important do you think your instructors have been in helping you kind of, like you said, Ron was doing all the things to help you. So if somebody is trying to find a class or whatever, I'm thinking the instructor has to be able to do a lot of modifications as well. They have to be open-minded and say, well, you just got to figure out a way, like, well, I kind of need some guidance because you're the beginner.
Yeah. I think the instructor is super important. If you have kind of that old school, everything's closed off, it's this way or the highway type thing, you're going to have a rough go with it because you need an instructor or a coach or a mentor that is willing to work with you and figure out a way. Ron spent way more time than he probably should have trying to figure out how to help my problem. He did not have to do that. He could have just been like, hey, suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah, because at the time you're only doing seminars, so
yeah,
I see a person twice a year for a weekend.
Exactly.
Deal.
Yeah,
okay.
But he would spend time out of that weekend to be like, let's figure something out. Like, here's what Guru Dan would do. Here's what, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, and I tried it. I would always give it the college try, but sometimes it would work. And then until I got this guy, it didn't work. And now, even more so with the padded sticks, I can go even more ham without this, as you'll see in the...
Because they're grippy.
Yeah, because they're grippy and they give some give. So if I have the death grip, I can relax a little bit and it's still there. The instructor has to help you. I have a student right now who was born with a condition where they have had 70 some odd surgeries and things like that.
Wow.
And he has a shunt running through his head. So chokes are really scary for him. So I just tell him, like, tap immediately.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
I have a student, she had, I guess, seizures and she has wires in her neck. And I said the same thing. I'm like, don't wait.
Don't wait.
Just tap.
It's fine. Like, cool. Who cares? Like, no one counts taps anyway. I mean, you might when you're a white belt, but you lose count. You should. I'm just kidding. But the idea is like, it doesn't matter. That stuff doesn't matter. People, like I just illustrated with this arm, when they grab this arm for pretty much everything, the tap is coming pretty quick.
Yeah.
Whether it's an armbar or Americana, Kimura I can kind of get away with, but like, there are certain moves and you're like, you got it. And like, it could just be them pinning it. Like, cool, you got it. It's like you would have gotten something eventually. Like, you're too far gone. And I'm also doing it to protect myself because if they mess up my elbow, I can't teach it anything like that. So multiple things going on, but your instructor should help you find a way to work around whatever limitation that you may or may not have. And like, let's say if you come in after a knee surgery, but you still want to be on the mat, your instructor should let you be on the mat to a degree. Like, they're going to protect you because a lot of times for your own good. But they're also going to be like, okay, well, you can't do any standing, you can't do any kneeling. You just have to kind of lay there. Right?
And you got to be also smart. If you're the person that has a surgery,
yes.
You can't go, all out either. You got to be like, all right,
yeah.
I got to take care of it because I know when I had my elbow surgery, my students were like, hey, you need to go sit down because you need to stay off the mat. And I was like, no, I can do it. So we got to do the same thing.
Yep, two-way street.
And last but not least, what would you tell anybody? What would your words of advice be, or what would your last closing statements be for this video?
Yeah, my last closing statement would be to just train. Have the right reason to train, and then pursue that priority and that reason. For me, I started training because it was something fun, and I've always been interested in kung fu movies and things like that, just not Bruce Lee. Until I saw Bruce Lee, and I was all in. But prior to that, it was always just like Jackie Chan and it's fun. And it still is fun for me. And that's the most important part. Whether you have a perceived limitation when you amputee or not, or you have seizures or narcolepsy, something like that, anything like that, you can get past it if you make that agreement to yourself that you're doing it for the best reason. Whether that is for fun, self-defense, it's your job, whatever that reason might be, it's really important that you really, really have that dialed in, having a vision on why you're doing that, and then going forward. Me, as a martial artist, my vision is to help teach and have fun, and that's why I do it. Anything else beyond that is just icing on the cake for me. So that would be my closing statement, is find that reason, find the vision, no matter your limitation, and go forward.
Cool. Well, thank you, Ed.
Thank you, sir.
Again, if you're in the Concord area, come check out my man Ed Stahl, Metrolina Martial Arts. He does Filipino martial arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I think CSW, submission wrestling.
Yep.
Submission wrestling, kickboxing, and
Jeet Kune.
How did I forget the main one?
I don't know. That's my baby.
Also, if you haven't already done so, do me a favor, hit the like button if you like this kind of video. And then also there's an interview, and I will put in the cards, with an interview with Guru Rambalicki, our mutual colleague instructor, and JKD instructor. And then also, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. Click that button on your keyboard. It's really easy for you guys. It makes a big deal to us. And then finally hit that bell icon so you know when the next video is coming out. Again, thank you, Ed, for your time.
Thank you.
All right. You guys stay safe out there.
Take care.